Welcome to Table Scraps, James.
Oh, thank you, Ben. It's great to be here.
I am so excited that you are here. You're the first non-Paul person to be on Table Scraps.
What an honor. Be a non-Paul person in this world is really an honor.
It's a very distinct privilege.
Yeah.
And I really wanted you to be here, not just because you're not Paul, but because...
Although I do that quite well.
Yes, you do. You do like the non-Paul thing very well. But, you know, we enjoy Twilight Imperium. We play it together, right?
True.
And I don't think I've ever beaten you. I don't think I've ever been at a session of Twilight Imperium where you have lost.
That can't be true.
I think that is true. I think that is true. Think about it. Think about all the times you've won.
I know I was on a streak last year.
Yeah, a lot.
Wow.
But the point is to even have a streak in a year is kind of a big deal because a lot of people only play Twilight Imperium like once a year. But we are people who have been... We are of the people who play it more than once a year.
It's rarefied air
that
we're in.
It's
really
a special class of nerddom that we have joined.
Yeah.
How many? Do you remember how many times you played it last year?
I think by this, I had a really strong early year last year.
Big year of it.
I think I played 6 times by this time last year, and this year
6 times.
I played.
By this time,
I played 0 times.
Wait a second, 6 times. This is March.
Yeah,
you played it 6 times between January and March.
I think so, 5 or 6. Yeah,
I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed. I know. I actually played it last year 5 times total.
Okay,
which was a lot. That's a big deal, I think. Also, and I'm like just gonna hold this glass up here for as long as possible too while talking about.
Please do.
Just gonna balance it. I'm gonna pretend this is my trophy.
Today's episode of Table Scraps brought to you by water.
Water, the most natural resource. But the reason why I'm not just here to I didn't bring you here just to say like that you played a lot.
I appreciate it.
And
is this an award ceremony?
Yeah, I have to say, ladies and gentlemen,
am I getting the golden war sun? Did it finally come in?
James's entire family is here to congratulate him. Aww. What I wanted to do, since you played it a lot, and I played it a lot, you've played it even more. I wanted to get your hot takes on Twilight Imperium, and I said, this is going to be an episode of hot takes. So I said, what are 3 hot takes of Twilight Imperium that you may have? Now we can go over 3. We're not limited to 3, but we're going to aspire for 3, and we may have some bonus hot takes. Now my hot takes, because I couldn't actually remember them, I actually printed out on my cool Table Scraps things here. But
the show gets classier every time.
Yeah, I'm adding all sorts of things. I have this, and then I also have I now have learned how to make little graphics on screen, so I will probably put up a variety of like alien races all around my face, which will be exciting.
Giant space cat coming through here.
Yeah, all that fun stuff. That probably all everyone just saw that. But I want to talk hot takes. So James,
I got some hot takes. I
feel like you played it a lot.
So I feel like this is your Hot Ones episode.
This is my Hot Ones episode without actual spicy food.
Yeah. It's like if instead of hot wings, you were eating
thoughts on a game.
You
know what? I should have taken out the game and put it as our backdrop. That's a huge fail on my part.
Yeah.
But these are hot takes.
It's hot take. We want to steaming hot, piping hot.
Piping hot take, James. What is your first
I was thinking starting with more mild, working our way up.
And a amuse-bouche of a warm take.
Warm take.
Well, it'll be hot take, not blazing hot take.
Okay. Not a blazing...
Wait, should there be a little graphic, since I am now fluent in making graphics, of like a little fire scale?
Yeah.
Or like War Suns on fire? Like this gets like 1 War Sun on fire. Or 1 Mechatol Rex on fire. What do you want to be on fire for your scale?
I think it's got to be a War Sun. It's emblematic of the game. It looks kind of like fire.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Hot take number 1.
Okay.
My first hot take is that Hakan, a Hakan game, is not fun. Not that fun.
Those are the space cats, right? They're
on the box. They're on the front of the box. They're fluffy. They're regal.
They're iconic.
Iconic.
Yes.
And I think they make the game less fun.
They make the game less fun, or they're just not fun to play?
I've never actually played as them. So big caveat here.
Okay,
just
so this
in
is
the
a real
game,
hot
just
take.
to have them in the
so
game.
So anytime someone has Hakan, you're like, this game is already going to be less fun. Why?
Yeah. Because I feel like I'm going to call it right now.
This is a great first hot take.
I'm going to call it right now. My theme for this entire episode is like economic wonk.
Ooh,
like
economic
takes.
wonk.
I feel like I'm going to do a lot of economic takes.
I love it
on the game because that's where my head's at right now.
Yeah.
I think that 6 trade goods get refreshed, or they get to take the trade action anytime it's out there.
Okay.
They can trade with anyone right out the gate.
Anyone. They don't have to be neighbors with someone.
They don't need to be neighbors with someone to trade.
They can just be like, let's trade.
Just makes becoming neighbors with people less important at the beginning.
Wow.
It gives them so much economic control over the board that I feel like an entire dimension of what you're trying to do in the game, which is build this economy, build trading partners, get a system going where that's going to work for you.
Right. It's not as...
It doesn't really happen quite the same. Yeah.
It's almost like too easy to get those trade resources flowing.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're a race
that is a hot take.
They're a faction that you cannot punish economically as well.
Right.
They just get...
there is a way to punish them.
6 commodities and...
Yeah, there's a way to punish them.
Which is to not trade with them.
Exactly. Yeah. And I thought what you were going to say is playing as Hakan is not fun. Playing with Hakan is not fun. I thought you were going to say playing as Hakan.
Yeah.
Because I was them once and I thought it was going to be a great time because it's the Lions. They're like on the cover of the box, which meant like I assumed that meant you're the most fun. I mean, you're also a lion, you know? It's okay. No broken glass.
Sorry.
And if there were, it would be okay because it's a day of hot takes. I played them once and no one would trade with me. And so it's like, if my special power is that I can have trade abilities and then no one would trade with me, it kind of felt a little like sad. It felt a little bit like, well, I'm not able to use my special powers. Now, someone could argue that this is a Ben issue, not a Hakan issue, because it probably meant that I was not playing the social game well, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's also table meta, like who are you playing with? How do they feel about you? What are their vibes?
But I was iced out really quickly, and so I remember specifically feeling a little salty about that. Yeah. So I understand the other side of just being Hakan, but I never thought about it that it would actually kind of like make the economy too easy.
I just don't like what it does to the economy in the game. Yeah. And I would actually say Hakan, I would add on to this Mentak.
Mentak.
As the other one.
What does the Mentak do again?
They're the space pirates.
Right.
If you're next to Mentak, they take a trade good when you transact.
They're so annoying every single time.
So that as well, I feel like that, because such a big part of the game is making those trades happen and sweetening with trade goods. And that is how a lot of the wheels get greased for everything in the game.
Yeah.
And when you have those two factions in there in slightly different ways,
there's too much economic wonk.
It just kind of, messes up. It just makes that less interesting because it forces you, it prevents you from being able to do.
But it makes me wonder
elements of the trade game.
It kind of makes me wonder though. Maybe there's a way to make it fun with Hakan.
Totally.
I think that
it's a hot take. Yeah. It's a hot take.
It's a hot take, but not necessarily a permanent take.
Not a permanent take. Also, a caveat for everything we're saying here is that we really like the game.
Oh yeah, love the game
and
love the game.
Yeah, and so like
yeah,
I'll play a game with Hakan.
This is from a place of love.
Place of love.
That's
my first hot take.
Okay, I'm gonna start with a similar. Since as long as we're starting with like kind of faction specific hot takes, I have a hot take that I don't. I'm gonna say this. I don't even know how to preface it. Here it is. It's kind of a strange sentence to say, but here we go.
It feels very official because you're reading
it off
a card.
Yeah. My first hot take is that the Necrovirus is the most liberating faction.
Oh, the most liberating faction.
The most liberating faction. The Necrovirus is like the famous thing about it is that it can't do the tech. It can't do the tech thing. It can't research tech. So anytime there's a chance to do technology, instead the Necrovirus can like gain command tokens. And also the only way that the Necrovirus can do tech is if it like wins, like if it like kills someone in a battle. And so not even like the whole fact, as long as it kills a certain piece. I could be wrong and I apologize.
I will say they can also get tech in the agenda phase.
Right.
Through a separate means.
So I played them with you over last summer. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I remember. I actually thought you were sick. because of your bit coming into the day. Remember?
Oh yeah,
because you dressed as your faction. You came in with the
forgot.
mask on.
I came in with
and
a
you
mask.
actually, the performance was good.
Yeah, because we all kind of dressed up a little bit like our faction. We had some element, and I had a mask on, and no one knew which faction. We all did like a pre-game draft, and no one knew that I was the virus. So I came in acting like I was sick, and then I did a big reveal like I'm sick because I'm the virus, and it was
I think you said I'm wearing a mask. I just wanted to say it. I'm wearing a mask because I'm kind of not been feeling that well lately. I've got a little something coming on.
And everyone got scared.
And I was like, oh, Ben, you should have told us.
Why would you come to
nervous.
Twilight?
We're going to sit with you for 10 hours.
And it was all just part of the act. But the reason why I think they're a liberating faction is because they can't do tech unless they get into a fight.
Yeah.
It kind of means you're liberated from having to focus so much on the tech tree, which I never thought I would be liberated from, because that's actually my favorite part of the game, is always looking at the text and playing with them, but not having to focus on that at all and just focus purely on like building out ships, deciding where to go, was extremely liberating. I was like, I'm really just focusing on a different part of the game very heavily in a way that I never have. And I loved that.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very fun.
Yeah.
And I thought the Necrovirus was a great time to play. And, you do kind of wind up getting your techs. They sort of arrive,
Yeah, you're going to fight someone sometime.
Well, because since you focus so much on your fleet and you wind up getting all these command tokens, that eventually you get into some skirmishes, and then suddenly your technologies just arrive, you know?
I like that take. I think that technology, maybe this is like a little bonus hot take.
I love it.
I think technology is the most frustrating strategy card. Because it's expensive to follow the secondary of technology.
Yeah. And it's also really expensive to do the primary.
It's expensive to do the primary and take advantage of the 2 tech research. And it's just a popular tech for people. In every game I've ever played, it's just popular, and you're going to want it so bad.
Every time.
It's if you're not high on that draft order,
yeah, you have to do
you're just not getting it.
You have to do
I find myself frustrated, I think, by my inability to get technology.
And technology
more than
can be a trap, because you can wind up going down that path, and then eventually you're like, I'm so close to just like actually getting that really good tech that I've been building towards, when it's time to pivot away from it. It's time to start doing other bigger and better things. And the most recent game I played, I stayed in the tech world of tech too long, and I fell out of pace.
Got burned.
Yeah. So that's why I think the Necrovirus, it forces you to focus really on plastic more than tech.
Yeah.
And also diplomacy too.
Yeah.
You really have to play a super diplomatic game as a virus. You would think you play a combative game. You go super diplomatic. You're really friendly with everyone, because people inherently just hate you because you're a virus. But you would never think that playing this role, this faction where you're going to be the enemy of the table, and you can't even have access to technology, that's actually liberating and like a joyous experience.
Yeah, but you're a friendly player. You like to try and create a goodwill narrative. So I think you play Necrovirus really well.
Thank you.
Because I think playing against type is the way to go.
Yeah,
it's more fun. With
I think as a virus, you have to be a friendly virus.
You just have to be a friendly virus. Yeah.
What's your next hot take?
My next hot take. Okay. Next hot take is that building the map is the best part of the game.
Oh, that's a fun hot take.
Yeah. Which again, caveat, the whole game is great.
Yeah, the whole game is great. But
I think that's the best part of the game.
Why?
Especially so, let's set the scene.
Please set the scene.
It's a Saturday or Sunday morning. You're getting up, slept in a little bit. You
have a fake virus.
9 a.m., 9:30. You're getting your snacks together. Walking on down to your car, driving across town.
The day can go in so many ways.
In LA, no traffic.
No traffic.
It's beautiful.
It's a Saturday morning at 9:30 or 10. No traffic.
You got your coffee. Me, I bring my little thing of cold brew for the table.
What type of coffee? What, like, is it like a specific
whatever
brand
the
or just
grocery
whatever?
store has. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if we're going
the one with the chameleon on it. I don't know. Whatever.
I wasn't sure if we're getting as specific as like, is this some Blue Bottle moment? Is this Phil's? I would get a nice coffee for Twilight Imperium Day.
That's a good point.
I want you to next time you do it. I'm gonna say, why don't you get something from Blue Bottle next time?
Blue Bottle. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. See, but I'm trying to get that extra hour sleep in the morning to prepare for the day.
You can mobile order.
Mobile. Good call.
Yeah.
Good call. So you're
I'll pick it
you're
up for
coming,
you.
you're showing up to you pull
Yeah.
up to whoever's
Yeah.
hosting.
Yeah.
You're excited. You got your bag of stuff. You're ready to go. You got your strategy all planned out, all your aspirations for the day. You sit down, blank table,
Yeah.
and you get dealt your stack of tiles. Mm-hmm. And those decisions immediately hit you.
Oh, it's so good.
I always forget how much pressure I feel in a good way when building the map. Because you normally you show up and you're like, you're feeling good, you're excited, you're saying hi to everybody, you're looking forward to going through this big epic adventure together.
That map building.
And then you're like, oh no,
I don't have the tiles I was hoping for.
yeah, I don't have the tiles I was hoping for. Do I try and aggress someone and create an enemy
It establishes
immediately?
a tone.
Yeah, and then I also think, just based on my last few plays, those decisions can be so impactful.
Yeah.
The last couple times I played Twilight Imperium, I got to the end of the game, and there was a moment in the map building where, just thinking back on how the game had gone, I realized the whole game would have completely changed with one tile flip.
Oh, wow.
Or one change of decision. And, something, in recent victories I've had, it's like, if that hadn't worked out that way, I would not have won this game.
Yeah, the tile building is very impactful, and it's very fun. And there are decisions, and there's like a good amount of push your luck with it, because there's kind of an element of like, oh, I want to put this really good planet here, but like I want, if I put it here, I'm guaranteed to have access to it, but I don't want. I'd rather put this tile somewhere else. But if I wait too long, someone may be a dick to me and put like a sun, like a supernova, right in the space, like the better space that I'm holding out for, So like, there's a little bit of an element of like, when do I put things down where, and like where you have to put down those evil tiles sometimes.
Yeah.
You're like, who am I going to make an enemy of? The last game I played, someone put the supernova like right in my slice, right next to Mechatol Rex. So for me to access Mechatol Rex, I would have to do a whole workaround. Luckily, I didn't even get close to it because I played a terrible game. But
Luckily, you played a terrible game.
luckily, I played a terrible game, so
That's good sometimes.
I just hung out in my home planet basically and built up tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think, it's that everything's fresh. You're not burdened by any of the mistakes that you have made,
And
because you
exciting to
can't
see
have
where it's
made
gonna
any
go.
mistakes, and you're just setting the stage and seeing the map develop in front of you and just thinking to what might happen and all the great aspirations you have for the game. I just think it's the most pristine, lovely moment of the whole experience.
I think that's a wonderful hot take.
Yeah.
I think
Medium hot.
medium hot. Yeah, I would say that's medium hot. I actually think this is. I think your first hot take was actually 2 War Suns on Fire.
You think
this
it
is
was?
one
Okay.
War Sun on Fire,
Okay,
because
so
I think there are a lot of
I
people who love
backtracked.
that.
I backtracked.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
Here is mine.
Yeah, I'm curious what you have.
I can't tell if this is my hottest take or not. My other one is the hottest take. Okay. My next hot take, which I think ups my, I don't even know how hot my
Hotometer?
I don't even know how
Warsometer?
hot my virus one was. Was that like a 1 virus on
I
fire?
think that was a warm take. Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
I think that's a hot take it's not gonna bother anybody.
Yeah.
People
This-
might disagree, but it's not gonna bother anyone.
This one might bother people. Not bother people, but people may think I'm crazy. I may lose cred with my subscribers. My next hot take is that Twilight Imperium does not overstay its welcome.
That's a good hot take. I think anybody who's watched this far into the episode maybe agrees with you. Maybe.
I will
Maybe?
say that when people complain that like the game is 10 hours, I sometimes say I would have been fine with 2 more hours.
Yeah. Okay. I think there are a lot of factors at play with that. I've definitely felt towards the end of a game so tired.
Yeah.
When it goes longer than you wanted it to,
Yeah.
and your brain has thought through every permutation of every move.
The cold brew cup
for the
has run dry.
Yeah, it's run dry. You're just jittery at this point.
Yeah.
I think the thing to me is I definitely have felt moments of there's too much game left.
Yeah.
I have felt that.
I
think the thing
I've never
it might
felt
be
that.
Stockholm syndrome, Ben.
I've never felt that. I have to say, every game for me has been exciting and thrilling. It always has sort of the similar arc, which is Act 1 post setup. Act 1 is that you are kind of you're teching up a little bit. You're doing your first land grab in your slice, assuming no one's put a sun right in front of you. That was, still a little,
Who
little
was
fresh.
it? Who was it?
Jake.
Okay. It was kind of a the day was.
I
in honor
actually
of
thought
him.
it was funny. I was like, I love an obstacle. I love being like, well, I'm gonna have to figure it out. But there's the first land grab, and then Act 2 is when we start getting like our first. That's when Mechatol Rex is first seized. Then we have our first agenda phases, and I feel like a lot of times we have some Cold Wars brewing at that point, and maybe some light skirmishes, and then Act 3. The level 2 victory point conditions have turned over, and it's like you can see the end. You know it's going to ramp up quickly. We're starting to get really big fights. People will start to act out of desperation, and I find that each one of those acts is compelling in their own way. And I always feel like when the game ends, I'm always like, oh, I wish it were a little bit longer, because I was also just about to make my fleet. Like I had just gotten to the stage where like everything in my fleet was firing on all cylinders. Well, but there's also an element of like you work so hard to get those techs, and to build up your ships, and you're kind of like get everything where you want it to be, and the game often ends. Did it take 10 or 12 hours to get there? But yes, but like because you spend 10 or 12 hours, you kind of want to have some time to live in like your greatness, you know?
I think that's true. I mean, I think people just get so exhausted.
I know.
I think the thing that people, I think the reason people would mostly disagree with you is
because they're not lunatics.
yeah, they're not masochists.
Yeah.
They don't want to sit there for 10 hours knowing they've lost during the last 4. I mean, I think that's what it is when people feel like they've been eliminated, and it's an emotional journey.
It is, and I guess I speak from a place of privilege, which is that I have this weird optimism with many games where I always think I have a chance. I'm always like, I know I'm down, but I could come back. And honestly, with Twilight Imperium, a lot of times I feel like the writing is only on the wall for like maybe that last round, round and a half. But usually there's enough weird stuff that happens in the game that you can come back and do some weird stuff. And in fact, that game where I was the virus, I lost, but there was one moment, I had a window where I was like, oh, I could do something amazing right now, and I might win as the virus and no one would see it coming. And I moved my War Sun in, and it got slapped right down by a card that was like, it was a disaster. But I think that sometimes people don't realize when they think that they're trapped, there are options.
Yeah.
But they only feel trapped, and then they get sad, and then they're like, how much longer is this?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm okay with the time. I'm okay with it.
It's a good hot take.
Yeah,
it's a good hot take.
Thank you.
I like it.
Thank you.
I like it. I'd say 2 War Suns.
Okay, 2 War Suns. Okay, what's your next hot take?
Okay, my next hot take: three War Suns. Okay, this may sound like not the hottest take, but I think it actually is the hottest take for people who play this game.
Okay.
Of my takes, which is that 5-player games are the best player count.
Ooh, I think I may agree.
Do you?
Because
we did it. We're done.
I think I may agree with that hot take because when I played a 5-player, for some reason there's like an intensity that's a little bit different than 6 players.
Yeah.
I can't explain it.
I think I can.
Oh,
I think
good.
I can. Well,
Wait, actually, I have a request. Before you explain it, my hot take is very similar.
Is it? Okay.
Should I just say it and then we discuss it all?
Let's discuss both.
Mine may be even a slightly hotter or more controversial.
Bring it on. I'll take my jacket off.
3-player is almost as good as 6-player.
Okay,
it's in the running.
So we're ranking.
Meaning that 3-player is it's not garbage to play a 3-player. You can play a 3-player, and you could come out of that being like, that felt very close to playing 6-player.
Yeah.
So now let's go back to
I like that.
So this is just
let's talk about 6-player first, real quick.
Let's go down and let's do it.
So 6-player game is what the general public. Not the general public. Nobody who plays this game is the general public. the Twilight Imperium playing public have agreed is the optimum correct player count for this game. 6-player game. Mm-hmm. Everybody just kind of takes that as a given. This game is so big that if anybody is going to even contemplate sitting down in person to play this game with people, there's a pressure that feels like, well, if we're going to do it, we have to do the optimum. if we're going to spend upwards of
Right.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours,
Get everyone involved.
we got to go for 6.
And it's going to be the most dynamic because there's just more people, there's more negotiations, there's more this or that or whatever.
Yeah.
But then maybe that's a fallacy because like, do you think that people are drawn to 6 because they know they can make a board that's perfectly symmetrical with 6 players?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of I guess it's kind of the way the game was built to a certain degree.
Yeah.
It's been kind of engineered for that, I think, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tell us in the comments. Is that wrong? I don't know. But I think I think part of what makes this game amazing is how hard the decisions are to make.
Yes.
In terms of not being able to value things properly, feeling like everything is, if you do one thing, you're giving up something else. And those choices are so hard.
Yes.
And I think those choices become harder with 5 players because you only have 5 of the 8 strategy cards selected every round.
I didn't even think about that.
Now we're talking 5 players with hyperlanes.
Yes, the hyperlanes, which is what you would get either if you have the expansion, expansion is like, to me, it's autoplay. Like you must play with expansion, but you can also do it like you can make the hyperlanes just by that way. You can just like draw them on a piece of paper. Yeah, that's what people used to do.
Yeah. Basically, all that's doing is that's making sure that you have 5 factions with slices that are equidistant.
Yes.
So it's perfectly filled out. There's not weird extra space in any area or whatever. So it's compact.
Yes.
Geometrically. But it only has those 5 people, and you only select 5 of the 8 strategy cards, meaning there's an extra one that doesn't happen, an extra secondary that isn't available to people.
Yes.
And
it makes it more of a pressure cooker.
It makes it more of a pressure cooker. It makes the game take a little longer in terms of number of rounds on average.
Yes. That's a great point.
Because there's less wealth in the strategy, people have less money.
I'm loving this hot take.
So it allows you to get a little further into, rather than things are like around 5, things maybe end. Or even before, and always you're like never even really getting around 6.
You could live in your actual super fleet, like what I was just saying.
Yeah.
It makes more.
The turn comes around to you a little bit faster. The game goes a little bit faster, but lasts longer into the rounds.
And there's also a little bit of there's an interesting dynamic because I find in a lot of Twilight Imperium games, like it's kind of a lot of times you wind up with like a nemesis at the table.
Yeah.
Like you have someone that you're allies with, and there's usually someone that you always are like getting into a skirmish with. It just happens that way. And what's interesting, what I found at 5-player games, is that there's usually like you get like here's a duo that's sort of going at each other. Here's a duo, but then here's a 5th person who's like a floater, and then you have the interesting dynamic where there's this 5th person is now like they're like a swing vote or a swing ally or a swing enemy, which is just a cool dynamic at the table.
Yeah. And I think for that same reason, you just don't have parity. You can't pair off, which is important for supports for the throne.
Yeah.
Which is the card you can trade that gives people a point.
Yeah.
Everybody can't get one. Basically, you can't have even swaps.
Yeah, exactly. And it changes, right? And it changes because that swing vote suddenly can get swept up into an alliance, and then someone else winds up as a swing vote.
So I think it just makes the game more interesting.
I really like it at 5.
Kind of in every way. I'm sure people disagree with this for sure.
Well, I agreed with it. I think I could not believe how good it was at 5. When I played it at 5 the first time, I was like, there was an intensity that I felt that was different than at 6. And it just was like, it also felt more dramatic. It felt more of like a weirdly epic experience. So I totally get it. Now with 3 players.
Well, let's talk about 4 first, which
4
kind of sucks, I think.
4 is fine. Actually, I have not played 4 in ages.
It's weird because all 8 strategy cards get taken.
Right.
So every secondary is always available. So there's never panic. You're taking 2. Everybody gets really rich because
it has its own
got
vibe.
something.
So 3-player, I've done it twice at 3-player. Most recently last year, I played with you and our friend Nick. And what I really liked about 3-player was I felt like I made all the same decisions that I make at a 6-player game in terms of caring about my tech tree, caring about my fleet, caring about planets, caring about like when I was going to make my move, going for everything. I think that there's a really cool dynamic at the table because you have, there's going to be two people who are together and one person's the odd person out, and like you have this classic drama triangle. They say 3 is the unstable number, right? In terms of anything that you do, the group project, or if you're on a desert island together. And having that at the table for Twilight Imperium is obviously very different. Like you don't have the big scope of like a bunch of people during the agenda phase voting on things and the discussion in the same way. But we played a very, very, very long game of that at 3 players. And the reason why it was so long was because there was so much above the table that was going on. So I was like, you know what, 3-player is totally a great player count for this game. And if you're trying to play the game more, like don't wait for 6 players, get 2 other friends and have some fun 3-player games. Not everything has to be the top player count. You can still have an enormous amount of fun otherwise.
I also agree with this take.
Thank you.
I agree with this take.
Thank you.
And this is why we're friends.
This is, yes.
I think that's spot on. I think that's spot on.
Should we do some bonus hot takes?
Yeah, I have a couple. I have a question, which is something that maybe this is like, we don't dive into this now, and this is maybe like another episode or something. When I was thinking about TI, you asked me very graciously to be on this up and coming podcasts, Table Scraps.
Huge. Soon to take over the internet.
I feel like we haven't been scrapping much. I feel like our hot takes, we should have been scrapping with each other a little bit.
I know, but like, we just like each other so much.
Yeah. But I want to talk about takebacks.
Okay. Yes. What?
Because I feel like this is a big general board game conversation to have, and I think this could be a whole episode.
Takebacks will have to be probably its own episode.
But I feel like it's something that comes up a lot in TI.
Yeah.
How do you feel about takebacks emotionally, and when do you allow them and when do you not in a game of TI?
Takebacks are so tricky because, you know, certain ones, if I feel like it's something that's not very consequential in terms of like someone had planned to do this tech, someone chose this tech, and then like a turn later, they're like, oh, wait, what am I thinking? Can I just do that? Can I switch it? I'm usually like, that's okay. Because if I can sort of sense that it doesn't seem like anything at the table has impacted their decision, okay. But like I think this has happened maybe more than once, where people have gotten confused. There's like a secret agenda that's about the Nexus wormhole or something like that. And people think they think it means just a regular wormhole, not the Nexus, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And so I've had it happen where someone like after a full round was like, I misread this. Is it okay if I just get a new secret agenda? And we let him. But I felt a little uncomfortable about it. I kind of feel like at a certain point you've got to sit with it. What do you think? I've been talking for a very long time.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. I just think there's an interesting thing that happens with TI. There are just so many things to think about, and your brain gets so tired over the course of the game at the end as those decisions get crunchy.
Yeah.
Also, depending on what you had to eat for dinner, if your brain has been refueled properly, all that stuff. Any kind of adjustment or grace that you request becomes more consequential and harder for the table to give.
Yes.
Where at the beginning, if you're like, oh, I meant to, I realized I can't like, the whole reason I did this was to have this guy in this system, not that one. Do you mind if I just shift this over in round 1?
Yeah.
You know, I think it's very easy to be like, it's fine.
But later it's hard because people are tired and you want to just keep going forward.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think there's a moral quandary there, and I'm curious to investigate it further.
Let's talk about that on another episode.
Let's table that and scrap it on a future episode.
Yeah, because I would love to talk about that. Takebacks are a whole thing.
Yeah.
My bonus hot take, which I don't actually know if this is as much of a hot take. This may be actually a standard take.
Standard take? Okay, give me a take.
I kind of wonder if War Suns are a trap.
Yeah.
I think they're a trap. I love building them, and every single time I build them, like, especially when you can get a War Sun up early and you're so excited, and then it somehow never really gets utilized the way you want it. It gets destroyed somehow very easily. I think War Suns are a trap. That's my mini hot take.
Yeah, I think that's true. I'm not sure how hot that take is.
Yeah, that's just a take.
I think it's just a take. I think it's just a take. I maybe the hot take is War Suns are not a trap. Maybe I'll disagree with you on this take. And then one of us has got to be hot, right?
One of us is hot.
One of us
is not. Well, James, thank you for being here with your amazing hot takes on Twilight Imperium. You did a great job.
Me, Ben. This is fun.
Thanks for being here.
Let's do it again soon.